Rain in Manchester doesn't just, it settles, it clings inside the ground, it slicks the hair. Thousands in the stands. Tonight it adds a weight to the air that's physical. These bruised chants, the Etihad feels less like a and more of judgment. Warmth in the air. Then in sky blue, no comfort in the equation has been stripped of its new win, or what slip through your fingers to the grasp. Good evening and to a night of immense in the Premier League. Charlie McGuinness at exactly the right. The floodlights, the technical air, squishy underfoot. Makes a quite simple can get being physically building. We are just moments from Manchester Crystal Palace. To understand the tonight, 100 miles south. Pep Guardiola, come on you Irons. Of silences. A VAR review. And denied West Ham. The ripple effect. It led to drift. Pedigree, and they have, but they no longer have. Is their game in hand? The gap must shrink. Full weight of an becomes a reality to overcome. Across the halfway line, goal of sacrificial. Indeed, another year of European final in life. One of the Glasgow's men. Freedom and everything to sport. Stadium and scored twice. Geography of an Etihad. The other side in the country. 4 is a collision of suffocating against the under the departure. Test match of a range could decide the destiny. Has just delivered a selection through the press box. Unlike Wembley against gambled. He line up the lead. Some of them watching from the touch. Leading marksman by the creative and the newly O'Reilly starting 11 falls to the depth of this city, supported by Phil Foden, Abdulkadir Kus. However, Guardiola side makes a remarkable Rodri midfield that City for City. It's Donnarumma, Guardiola, Mark Gahey. Be the pair in midfield. Phil Foden and Asner is playing a simple with that Euro. Changes to the side that headline news is that tonight on 40 goals. Looking to he's joined by Hughes and Jefferson. Palace's most potent Lassar, alongside your. It's a side built for and strike Max onto the quad. 3 centre-backs. The 2 wing-backs. Use the screen in midfield. Behind Jean-Philippe. Get underway. The player for a moment ripping off them. Build up the heated part of this game. It's been a cold and Manchester-y do it. You know, we can already focus in the eyes of Phil Foden. It's not been for him. Last time he scored in the Premier League back on December the 14th. The opponents that day, Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. And an emotional undercurrent as well for Mark Gahey, who's tussling here with Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's almost got the better of him there. The former Palace captain has shared a quiet word with a few of his teammates before kick-off. He joined Manchester City in January, narrowly avoided joining Liverpool at the end of the summer transfer window, elected for City, and well, could be a Premier League winner. It's looking unlikely for Pep Guardiola's side. Tonight really is a test of nerves. It's about proving that even with 6 changes, even without their Norwegian goal machine, the City machine remains peerless. There's Munoz intercepting on the edge of the penalty area. Hughes, Lacroix, bit of space in midfield for Lerma. Now here is Yeremy Pino on the left-hand side. Looks for a ball over the top, and the flag has stayed down. A chance for Brennan Johnson across the face of goal, and it's off the line, is it? Jean-Philippe Mateta wheels away in celebration. The flag goes up. Stuart Atwell blows the whistle. Konstantin Hatzidakis, the assistant referee on that far side. Took a while. Well, it's a narrow offside, but it certainly is on Brennan Johnson. Did the unselfish thing, the Welsh international. Played the cutback across to Jean-Philippe Mateta. Donnarumma seemed to scoop it off the line and across the line. The offside will stand. But that's what Palace can do. That's what Brentford almost did a few times. The scoreline at the weekend was a kind one for Manchester City. Goals from Jeremy Doku, Erling Haaland and Omar Marmoush brushing aside the bees, but they had moments of their own, Keith Andrews' side, and mostly to do with that long ball, that counter-attack. They will commit a lot of bodies forward, City, and that leaves space in behind. Yeremy Pino has a pass in him. Brennan Johnson a turn of pace. And there's no need to explain what Jean-Philippe Mateta can do. He, incidentally, making his 199th appearance in all competitions for Palace this evening. Here's Kusanov. Nunes, who is at right back. Pirouettes down the right-hand side, followed by Pino. The pass is a little bit behind Savinho. Will be a throw-in for Crystal Palace. Tyrick Mitchell with the ball in his hands already. Another season of quiet consistency for the Palace Academy graduate. Many tipping him for a place in the England World Cup squad. Left back is a problem position for Thomas Tuchel. And it's rather interesting that he hasn't really got a look in over recent years. He's not the most glamorous, not the most fashionable of players. And there have been question marks in previous years about his attacking output. 3 assists this season and a goal to boot for one of Palace's most ever-present players. Here's Abdulkadir Kusanov in the centre circle. To his left for Gahey. It's laid back by Omar Marmoush, who we thought would be the centre forward at the moment. That role is being occupied by Antoine Semenyo. Well, Bernardo Silva picked up a booking against Brentford. It was for a elbow to Nathan Collins' arm. Now, we believe that he might have been suspended tonight, but he's actually included this evening. I was here for that game against the Bees at the weekend, and the tension there was just as tense as it is tonight. It's Nunes, Mitchell, Lerma near the corner flag. That's against Foden. what a bench they've got tonight, Manchester City. If it all goes wrong, they've got some real quality to call upon. Hope it's done without the likes of Jeremy Doku and Erling Haaland. Foden, Silva. Here's Guardiola working outside the penalty area. Gahey. Ait-Nouri. Kusanov. And Nunes. And off to the right for Savinho. Nunes. Appeals for a handball. It was off JD Canvo and out of play for a City corner. We'll have a look at the replay for you. Well, his arm was behind his back. It's come off his hip, then onto the arm. Difficult one to give for the referee or the video assistant. Bernardo Silva's going to walk away from it. Mark Gahey up in the 6-yard box, the penalty area, joining some of his former colleagues. It was it'll be 4 days from today, which marks the year anniversary that he lifted the FA Cup for Crystal Palace against the team he now plays for. Nothing's changed. Brennan Johnson, that's given away to Silva. Chris Richards away from the corner of the 6-yard box. Semenyo unable to take it down. Mateta prods it free, and now here comes Tyrick Mitchell. Palace on the counter-attack here. Mitchell needs some support alongside him. He's got it in the form of Daniel Munoz. On this left-hand side is the Colombian. Has to go backwards. JD Campbell on the halfway line, and City have got everyone behind the ball now. Here's Maxence Lacroix. Floated down the left-hand side. Mitchell's going to get after it. Couldn't keep it in play, though. Did hesitate a little there, Tyrick Mitchell, as that headed towards the byline. Will be a goal kick. Well, it's an interesting one at Selhurst Park these days. Oliver Glasner, he announced that he'd be departing the club months ago now, way back in January. And a lot of Palace supporters seem to fall out with the manager, fall out of love with him. Things seem to have settled since Palace's Premier League safety secured. There was a little bit of doubt about that, but quickly put to bed in recent weeks. In fact, West Ham's defeat at the hands of Arsenal confirmed that Palace will be playing Premier League football next season. There's been the odd rumour suggesting that Glasner might stay on beyond the summer. At the moment, Palace chasing Andoni Iraola, the man who will leave Bournemouth, as the potential replacement. That Conference League final in Leipzig could really prove to be pivotal for the direction in the future of Crystal Palace. It's in towards the edge of the 6-yard box, and that's away by Lacroix. Wins so many of those balls into the penalty area. Pino not strong enough. Here's Savinho. Lerma gets a toe to it, and then all trundle over the end line. Another corner kick quickly taken by Savinho. Finds Foden. Outside the penalty area is Nunes. Right hand side again. Here is Savinho. Pino tried to stay with him. It's good work from JD Canvo. Savinho unable to get close to Pino, who couldn't find Hughes, and it's back in City possession. Silva. Ait-Nouri. Brennan Johnson trying to do the defending here. Ait-Nouri. Johnson with a touch on the ball. Another City corner. Racking them up already. Well, the FA Cup Youth Final is going to be played just down the street tomorrow. It'll be between Manchester City and Manchester United. There's Gahey on the left-hand side. We'll get back to that shortly. Yes, the two Manchester rivals take each other on. There's been a bit of controversy about where it's being held. It's at the Joy Stadium, which is often used for under-18 youth football. It's a fantastic facility. This part of Manchester was once quite run down, and the investment into the Manchester City has seen a whole sporting complex spring up. A number of stadiums, including this 60,000-seater Etihad. And a big stand away to our left is going to be opened shortly as well. There's Gahey. Tentatively making his way forward, finds Gvardiol. Nunez, Savinho, Lerma, got in the way. Canvo will retrieve it from the byline. The clearance is against Semenyo, and that's out of play. Anton Semenyo, incidentally, was once a long-time target for Crystal Palace during his days at both Bournemouth and Bristol City prior to that. The move never materialised, and here he is, showing exactly what he can do. 15 goals this season, including a significant portion of those for the Cherries on the south coast. It's an interesting selection from Pep Guardiola this evening. Those 6 changes. And for Manly, that might suggest he's admitting defeat in the Premier League title race, putting all his eggs in the FA Cup final basket in the hope that that will provide a route to silverware this season. Pep Guardiola was glowing in his compliments towards Palace. They've frequently been a thorn in his side. You may have seen on previous documentaries. That's a nice little help on by Jean-Philippe Mateta. Brennan Johnson bursting down the left-hand side. Daniel Munoz was on the opposite side. There's Pino arriving on the penalty spot. Will Hughes is adamant that hit a hand. And Stuart Atwell given that as a goal kick, in fact. It was just direct running from Brennan Johnson. It was found by Jean-Philippe Mateta. Pino seems to slip as he takes the shot on from just a step away from the penalty spot. It's off the left leg of Josko Gvardiol, and it will be a corner. It's not been the start to life in a Palace shirt that Brennan Johnson had hoped for after his £35 million move from Tottenham Hotspur. Still awaiting his first goal in Palace colours. It's going to be Hughes to take the set piece from that far side. In comes the left-footed in-swinger, right into the heart of the 6-yard box. Richards rose. Adamant there was a touch of a City defender. Stuart Atwell didn't spot it if there was. He felt that just flicked off of Mark Gahey. I'm sure it did, you know. Palace causing City some problems. Here's Jefferson Lerma. That'll be a Manchester City throw-in. Jean-Philippe Mateta is man-marking Bernardo Silva. Not Gahey in possession. And it's quite obvious, conspicuous, how close Mateta is sticking to the Manchester City captain here. He's in communication with Will Hughes as well to make sure that he doesn't have any space, and Hughes will try and instigate the press as it goes into midfield for Silva. Back to Mark Gahey. Kusanov, the Uzbek. Looks for Gvardiol. Up goes Munoz, bounces out to the left-hand side for Ait-Nouri. Gahey. So playing a more advanced role than we thought. Ryan Ait-Nouri. Looks like Gvardiol was in the left-back role. Semenyo through the middle, Ait-Nouri on the left-hand side. Out to the right for Savinho, though. Focusing in field to Nunez. Back to the young Brazilian Savinho. Nunez. Floated out towards the far side. Munoz with a powerful header. Sandwiched between two City bodies. Out of play for a Manchester City throw-in. Gahey. Silva. Nunez. Into Bernardo Silva. Kusanov. Gahey. Ryan Ait-Nouri. This is cross beyond Munoz, but won't beat Richards. There's Gahey from the edge of the penalty area. Well, that's an almighty slice and a sheepish little smile as that goes out of play closer to the corner flag than the goal. It's actually had to play for a throw-in. And I'm sure there's a couple of comments from his ex-colleagues there. Not not really known for his shooting ability from that sort of distance. Mark Gay did score a few for Palace in his time. He's got a brilliant one against Aston Villa earlier this season. Here is Gay. Now Silva. Back to Gahey. Gvardiol left of centre. Gahey again. Swiftly closed down by Will Hughes. Makes the most of the contact. And that's a free kick. Taken short by the former Palace captain. Kusanov finds Silva. Between the lines for Foden. Foden tries to find Semenyo. Cleared straight at Phil Foden. Now Kusanov, 35 yards from goal. Shuffled across to Gahey. Gahey for Kusanov. Kusanov to Silva. Silva bussing around the midfield, looking for routes through that wall of Palace gold. Here's Aït-Nouri. Gahey. Kusanov. Right hand side now is Savinho. Mitchell staying with him. Savinho with the cutback. Hughes in the way. Pino tries to get it forward. Kusanov has time, lines one up. And like his centre-back colleague Mark Gahey, that one's high and wide and pretty wild. Well, Mitchell unable to prevent the cross a few times now. Michael Coyote had a torrid time for Brentford against Jeremy Doku. Fairly sure the Palace fullbacks Daniel Munoz and Tyrone Mitchell were pretty pleased not to see Jeremy Doku. 4 goals in his last 3 appearances for City. He's a man in form, and a lot of people were dubbing it Doku versus Arsenal, this Premier League title, especially considering the form of the Belgian recently. At the moment, the onus very much on City to break down this Palace defence. Oliver Glasner's comments were very revealing in the build-up, not just to this game, but they play Arsenal the final day of the season in 11 days' time. They host them at Selhurst Park. There are stringent security measures in place by the Crystal Palace hierarchy, the team around them, to make sure that Arsenal fans aren't present in the home end. You can understand why the Gunners would try and take in what they expect to be their day of coronation. But Oliver Glasner has said that he will not bow to pressure to play his strongest team in this game, the weekend's game against Brentford, or that game against Arsenal. He says that the title race is over 38 games, not one match. He needs to do what's best for Palace, and their priority is the Conference League. Here's Silva from the edge of the penalty area, straight at Will Hughes, who got close to him. And Pep Guardiola respects that Oliver Glasner has that mentality, saying he will give both his City side and Mikel Arteta's Arsenal team a real test. It's an interesting one for Palace because they don't really care where they end up in the league. All their eggs are now in that Leipzig basket. Beat Rayo Vallecano in that final on the 27th, and they will play European football for just a second season. This time it is Europa League as well, the competition they were denied being part of due to paperwork and conflicts with UEFA rules. Here's Aït-Nouri on the left-hand side. Gahey to Aït-Nouri into the side netting. Nice link up though with Mark Gahey. Ryan Aït-Nouri making his 16th appearance for Manchester City this season, brought in from Wolves. He's a very exciting player, just 24 years old. Played as a left-back for Wolverhampton Wanderers, but really does have in his locker to cause problems in attacking areas. Lacroix got himself in a pickle and pulled down by Ryan Aït-Nouri for a foul on the edge of the Palace penalty area. Just took a little bit too much time on the ball, the Frenchman. Henderson, Richards, Hughes. I have to say, it's a bit of a subdued atmosphere inside the Etihad tonight. Palace have only brought enough for the lower tier. Away to our right. Few hardy souls. It's a difficult away day, especially a late kick-off. As the rain has returned, Pep Guardiola, well, that's a sorry state. In his waterproof, the rain cascading down, as it so often does here in Manchester. A similar atmosphere against Brentford at the weekend. There was tension around the ground, tension in the ground. It abated eventually when Jeremy Doku scored a world-class goal in the second half to give City the lead. Nunes, pass over here, looking for Semenyo, just drifted behind JD Canvo. He's quietly gone about his business, the 19-year-old, the recruit from Toulouse in the summer. I speak to Palace fans and they'll say that Canvo's performances, the evidence is of how good he's been is that they haven't really missed Mark Gahey. So he's got a very high ceiling of ability and has been showing it not just in the Premier League but in the Conference League too. How about this for a statistic? 81% possession for the hosts. That'll suit Palace, love to play on the counter-attack and soak up pressure. But there's only so much pressure you can soak up against a team of City's quality. Here's Hughes, breaking things up inside the City half of the pitch. Now Canvo collects for Crystal Palace. Mateta curls his run. The flag goes up. Here's another one whose reputation is in the process of a bit of a rebuild. Looks set for an exit in January, to be angling for a move to Italy. Well, that'll collapse. He was out injured for a while as well. Back in the mix, in the thick of things, Jean-Philippe Mateta. Scoring goals too was an important cameo off the bench against Everton at the weekend in that 2-2 draw. Is Savinho. This slipped as he tried to switch play out to the left-hand side. Another goal kick for Crystal Palace, halfway point of this first 45. And it's a tame game, to say the least. Henderson. Oh, where's the captain's armband after Gahey's departure? Here's Hughes, tugged back by Ait Nouri. In typical Will Hughes fashion, a curmudgeonly look at Stuart Atwell, the referee, before he granted him the free kick. Lacroix. Richards. Lacroix. Now Canvo. Laid off by Lerma. Back to Maxence Lacroix. Has to be careful, he's got Marmouche pressuring him. And it's forward by Richards. Up towards Johnson. Beaten in the air by Gahey. Taken down here by Richards. Richards back to Henderson. Dean Henderson taking his time on the ball here. It's a misplaced pass beyond Richards, behind Munoz, and City have it back. Vardiol for Silva. Central position now Kusanov. Inside right position Nunes, just on the edge of the box. Savinho links up with Nunes again. Little back heel. Savinho looks like he's in an offside position. Canvo across though. Pokes it down the touchline. That's how they play for a throw. In fact, never came. Nunes for Silva. Silva for Foden on the half turn. Burst past Pino and then Canvo. It's Mitchell who stops him in his tracks and concedes the throw it. In by Nunes. It's returned to him by Savinho. Lerma. Pino played that off Foden. And that'll be a Palace throw-in. It's been a bit disjointed from Manchester City. Those 6 changes tonight is as many as in their previous 5 matches in the Premier League combined. Lacroix. Canvo. They're being played on the edge of the Palace box at the moment. Canvo. Mitchell. Canvo. Lacroix. Richards. Munoz. Up towards Mateta. Tried the little flick with the back of his head to Brennan Johnson. Kusanov was there first. And it's calm play from the Uzbek. Foden. Guardiol. Kusanov. Nunes. Everyone back in the Palace half of the pitch where this game has been played for the majority of the 27 minutes we've seen. Savinho. Gahey. Left hand side is Aït-Nouri. Just got away from him. Brennan Johnson got to the ball first. Aït-Nouri walking a bit of a tightrope at the moment. A few fouls now. Sure, that will keep the cards in his pocket for the time being. It was just late on Johnson. No malice intended from the Algerian. Hughes will have a little word with the referee just to bring his attention to the fact that Ryan Aït-Nouri is racking up the fouls. Lacroix. Canvo. That's on Lacroix. Under pressure. Richards. Straight to Gahey. On that left-hand side halfway for Manchester City. Foden. It's Nunez. The Silva centre circle. Teta closing him down to Kusanov. Matheus Nunes looking out to the right hand side, finds Savinho. Nunez. Kusanov. Gahey. Finds Guardiol. Gahey to Guardiol again. Aït-Nouri. Now we've marked Gahey. Bernardo Silva. Run through the middle was by Omar Marmoush, who was being tracked by Hughes. It was too close to the Lacroix though. Clearance drops to Gahey. Here's Silva. And Nunes ran into 3 Palace players there. Yeremy Pino showing his strength. I think that should be a throw in their way. Pino not happy with the treatment dished out there by Savinho. A little tap on him on the way past as they resume. He's got that streak in him, Yeremy Pino. There's another big money signing in the summer that hasn't necessarily worked out for Palace this year. Most of his eye-catching moments have come in the Conference League. Hasn't really quite got up to speed with the physicality and pace of England's top flight. Nunes out to Aït-Nouri, laid off to Mark Gahey. Savinho. Slung into the penalty area, too far away from Semenyo And it's Henderson that comes darting off his line to gobble that up on the edge of the Palace box. Half an hour gone, and another goalkeeper's been called into a save. Donnarumma early on when Palace thought they'd scored, only for the offside flag to go up against Brennan Johnson. Apart from that, it's been pretty tame. Mateus Nunes laid off to Phil Foden. Foden across to Gahey. Guardiol. Gahey. Kusanov. Gahey. Aït-Nouri. Gahey. Diagonal into the penalty area, taken down by Semenyo. Held up by Calvo. Aït-Nouri, back to Gahey, will try it again. This time it's away from the edge of the box by Lerma. Touched by Johnson. And he's immediately swamped by sky blue shirts. It was Omar Marmoush that recovered the ball, and City recycle it down the right-hand side through Silva. Infield to Nunes. Nunes finds Foden. Little back heel. Semenyo! There's the opener! Antoine Semenyo with number 16 for the season. A delightful finish as well. Just rolled it into the bottom corner. First time City have managed to carve a route through the Palace defence. It's his 9th in City colours. And a sigh of relief around the Etihad. Phil Foden, often so effective against Palace, and he's done it again here. Just a little bit hesitant to get out. Chris Richards is playing Semenyo on side and giving him a bit too much space as well, as Lacroix comes out to press Foden. Cute little back heel from the City Academy graduate to find Antoine Semenyo. Dean Henderson can't react in time. It's like his studs almost get caught in the turf as well, you know. It's City 1, Palace 0. Mateta, though, finds Mitchell, and it's pushed away by Donnarumma. Almost the immediate response. All came from an aerial ball downfield. Mateta involved, as he so often is. Hadn't picked up Mitchell, had to take it on first time, and well, draws Gianluigi Donnarumma into a tidy little save there. Blocking out his frustrations at the defenders in front of him, Gianluigi Donnarumma. Just lost a bit of concentration. Here's Jeremy Pino with the corner from the near side. And it's too close to Donnarumma. He isn't the most comfortable with those kind of deliveries, you know. 6'6" of him. Hughes looked a good challenge. Wasn't a good challenge. Phil Foden's 4th assist of the season. In a season that hasn't been good, at least that's what many people are saying. He's still managed 7 goals and now 4 assists in 31 appearances, Phil Foden. He's started 22 of those in the Premier League. Had to come off the bench against Brentford and Everton. And then lasted 58 minutes in the FA Cup against Southampton. He's gone number 105 for his club. Here's Hughes. Munoz wants it out on the right-hand side. A missed kick from Hughes, but he'll be kept in play. The flag goes up. Just took too long to deliver the ball, Will Hughes. It's away by Lacroix. Munoz's clearance charged down by Aït-Nouri. Richards gets it further away, but Silva is there in midfield for Manchester City. Aït-Nouri. Silva finds Gahey. Between the lines is Guardiola. Savinho. That's Kusanov. Now Gahey. Kusanov. Gahey. Oh, that's a little bit silly from Brennan Johnson. Came racing out to try and press mark Gahey. Got the tackle wrong, and that'll be a free kick. Gahey to Guardiola. Pirouette away by Munoz. Mateta caught by Gahey. No complaints from the former Palace captain as Mateta goes down. Palace with a free kick just outside the centre circle. It's backwards by Hughes. Lacroix. Camvo. Richards. Closed down. It's Marmoush. Fed by Semenyo. Took too long, did Omar Marmoush. Lacroix got across and really digs Chris Richards out of a hole there. He tried to take on Rayan Aït-Nouri. It's a good challenge to win it back. Savinho found Marmoush. It's good positioning from Camvo, forces Marmoush inside. That gives Lacroix the time to get across and Topo get behind for a City corner. Foden will take the set piece. High ball towards the back post. Guardiola gets on the end of it. Hughes flicks it away. Here's Pino edge of the penalty area. Maybe a chance to break for Crystal Palace. Good challenge by Kusanov to win it back for Manchester City. It's Foden on halfway now. Kusanov. Silva. Gahey. Hughes was stretching, it will find Semenyo. Forced wide though by Lacroix. It's back to Mark Gahey. Semenyo to Gahey. Wide to Aït-Nouri. Inside to Gahey again, closed down by Will Hughes. Here's Kusanov. Steps past Mateta. Kusanov finds Marmoush with his back to goal edge of the penalty area. Here's Silva. Slightly deeper. Cross to Gahey. Back out wide to the left-hand side for Aït-Nouri. There's Johnson and Munoz in his way. Gahey. Kusanov. Gahey. Swung out to the right-hand side, taken down by Savinho. One back by Mitchell. Tidy from the Palace left-back. And the clearance will only end up at Kusanov's feet. There's no one up there for Palace. Now Foden. Philly has a point to prove. Savinho. Infield to Phil Foden. Flicked out to the left-hand side, chested forward by Aït-Nouri. We'll find Guardiola, back to Aït-Nouri. Gahey. Silva. Kusanov. Gahey. Just drawing Palace out a little here, Manchester City. Now Guardiola. Into the penalty area. Can't take it down initially. There's Marmoush, and they've doubled their lead. Omar Marmoush on target against Brentford, and now on target against Crystal Palace this evening. That will make City feel a lot more comfortable. It was worrying defending, really, from a Palace perspective. They had plenty of bodies between Marmoush and the goal. He was facing in the wrong direction as well. All started with Gvardiol given too much time, spooned one into the penalty area. Foden helped it on its way. It'll be another assist for the England international. Marmoush managed to pirouette on it at the far stick, and by way of a deflection, squeezes it past Dean Henderson. It's a cute little touch yet again from Phil Foden. I think it's come off Canvo here, has it? It's actually off Dean Henderson. His momentum heading towards his left. And there's a smile on Pep Guardiola's face. It's City 2, Palace 0. 5 minutes to go until the break. Breathing room for Manchester City. Marmoush in pursuit of the restart, as Lacroix will nod it back to Dean Henderson. Space in the midfield for Pino. He was found by Henderson. Now here's Munoz. Pino. Richards. Lacroix. Pino. Richards. Lacroix. Henderson. Taken down by Nunes. Pino penalised for a handball. There's Gahey. Bernardo Silva. Nunez to Foden, back again into the middle of the park. Kusanov. Only ever loans the ball, does Bernardo Silva. Got it back off Kusanov. Now here's Nunez. High ball towards the back post. Daniel Munoz heads it behind for a corner. Probably needed a shout from his goalkeeper there. He wasn't under no pressure. Probably could have taken it down. It's taken quickly by Ait-Nouri. Palace sleeping. Foden into the box. Great save by Henderson to deny Gvardiol. Gahey hacks it back in there. Away by Lerma. Foden. Silva tries to curl one. That one's wide. Dean Henderson with a fantastic piece of goalkeeping to keep Palace in this game. It was Phil Foden again with a fantastic ball. Found Gvardiol. Henderson at full stretch. Pushes it wide. That was heading into the back of the net from Josko Gvardiol. Well, he's not a fan favourite here at the Etihad, Dean Henderson. His Manchester United links will be enough for that. He's given it straight to Phil Foden. That's the effort from a long way out. He's straight at Maxence Lacroix. Yeah, came through at Manchester United, did Dean Henderson. Many said he should have been the successor to David De Gea there. Ended up at Crystal Palace after spells at the likes of Nottingham Forest. If you turn the clock back almost an entire year, it was his penalty save from Omar Marmoush at Wembley, and an incident which sparked a series of complaints and frustrations from Manchester City supporters as he handled outside the penalty area. It wasn't spotted by the officials nor VAR, and what probably should have been a red card for him. There's a ball forward to Brennan Johnson. Gahey backing away, backpedaling towards the edge of his own penalty area. Johnson tried to lay it off to Munoz. It's slightly misplaced from the Welshman. Palace now buzzing around the edge of the City box. Richards. I didn't realise Johnson was coming back from an offside position. Well, I'll go across to challenge, and now the flag goes up. It's a thundering challenge from the United States international. If he'd pursued it himself, Palace might have been in there with a chance of creating something before the break. Clock ticking towards the 45-minute mark. We await the fourth officials board to indicate how much time will be added on at the end of this first half. It'll just be the solitary minute. Too many incidents in this first half, no real delays. Semenyo's header in the centre circle. That's down to Nunes. Now Savinho into the middle of the park where it's picked up by Lacroix. Hughes, Lerma. Line pass towards Pino. A lot of Silva was in the way. Had a play on the near side. Mitchell with the throw-in. JD Canvo. Back to Dean Henderson. Missed kick from the goalkeeper. Bounces into the centre circle. Ait Nouri. That's a handball. And half-time. Stuart Atwell blows the whistle for the break. A match that City have to win to stay in the title race. Well, it's going their way. Antoine Semenyo with the opener following a delicious little pass from Phil Foden. It was Josko Gvardiol involved in the second. Phil Foden with a crucial touch to guide it through to Omar Marmoush. Crystal Palace have barely had a sniff of the ball, but they've had chances. Tyrick Mitchell drawing a save out of Gianluigi Donnarumma not long after that goal from Omar Marmoush. But all going to the script so far. Palace with their attentions on Europe. Manchester City, despite the 6 changes, still clinging on to hope in this title race. At half-time at the Etihad, it's Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 0. The rain has not relented, and neither has the pressure, but for 45 minutes Manchester City have stared into the storm and found the answers they so desperately needed. Welcome back to a sodden Etihad Stadium. If there were nerves following Pep Guardiola's decision to bench Erling Haaland and Jeremy Doku, they've been settled by a clinical opening half. City lead 2-0, and as it stands, they are dragging themselves to within 2 points of Arsenal. The title race isn't just alive, it's screaming. The breakthrough came in the 32nd minute, and it was a moment of sheer ingenuity from Phil Foden with his back to goal. He produced a blind, delicate back heel that completely carved open the Palace defensive line. Semenyo, the beneficiary, timed his run to perfection, and despite a slightly hacked finish, it slotted into the far corner and beat Dean Henderson. They're back underway in the second half. City weren't done there, though. 8 minutes later, they doubled the advantage. Josko Gvardiol making a triumphant return from that broken leg, delivered a searching ball into the box. Foden there again to cushion it down. Marmoush starting in place of Haaland showed a striker's instinct to fire home on the turn. It was Foden's second assist of the half, the first time in a storied career he's managed multiple assists in the first 45 minutes of a Premier League match. Palace, though, have had their moments on the counter. Brennan Johnson and Yeremy Pino are looking to exploit the slick surface, but Gianluigi Donnarumma has remained largely untroubled, save for one flying save down low to his right to deny Tyrick Mitchell. Oliver Glasner's side have a mountain to climb, and you wonder if he'll turn to the likes of Ismail Assar or Adam Wharton sooner rather than later, maybe to try and salvage something from this rainy Manchester night. The players back out there, the ball moving again, 45 minutes remain, the rain lashing, the stakes rising, the title on the knife edge. And Richards concedes the first free kick of the second half down in front of us on the Manchester City left. No changes at the break for either side. So for Palace, the Travellers, it's still Dean Henderson in goal, Canvo, Lacroix and Richards, the three centre-backs, Mitchell and Munoz, the wing-backs, Lerma and Hughes, the holding midfielder, the screening pair, Pino and Johnson trying to offer support to Jean-Philippe Mateta. He thought he'd scored in the opening 5 minutes of the game. That was pulled back for an offside in the build-up on Brennan Johnson. Canvo across to meets Mateus Nunes, and there's a Manchester City corner. Gianluigi Donnarumma starting in goal for them. A reshuffled pack for the Sky Blues tonight. 6 changes. Mateus Nunes and Josko Gvardiol, the two fullbacks. Abdulkadir Kusanov alongside Mark Gahey in the heart of defence. Ait Nouri is playing out on that left-hand side with Savinho on the right. Silva and Foden in midfield. Marmoush floating somewhere in that attacking third. Here's Foden's ball into the edge of the 6-yard line. There's a foul on Will Hughes by Mark Gahey. A smile on the face of the former Palace captain. The free kick goes Palace's way. Well, a hardy group of Palace supporters, 1,000 or so, have made the trip up to Manchester this evening. Not too many late trains home back to London. It's an arduous journey, and I think the majority of them will be thinking more about tomorrow morning when the tickets for the Conference League final go on sale. Some of them have been smart and booked their transport, their accommodation months ago in the hope that Palace would make the final. Others have taken a bit of a risk. But one thing is fairly certain at the club at the moment is that most of the focus is on that final. They have a job to do. These final 3 games, including tonight. They do have a hand in the title race. They will face both Manchester City and Arsenal. Pino is offside out on the left. Can't control it anyway. And City will take the throw-in. Stuart Atwell happy to just let play flow. Nunes. High ball into midfield from the throw-in. Gvardiol takes it down. Sprayed forward by Savinho, looking for the run of Marmoush. Pass a bit too much power on it. Richards can just shepherd that back to Dean Henderson. Pulled off a very good save as well. With 2 minutes left of that first half to deny Josko Gvardiol. Flying away to his right. There's Lerma in the middle of the park. Header up towards Mateta. Gahey pokes it down the left-hand side for Ryan Ait Nouri. No bookings so far this evening. Ryan Ait Nouri with a few fouls though. significant contingent of the players out there tonight will be the United States, Mexico and Canada in a few weeks' time, playing in the FIFA World Cup. Dean Henderson, of course, with England. He's their backup goalkeeper. Maxence Lacroix got a call-up in most recent international break for the French squad. I'm not sure if he'll feature. Daniel Munoz and Jefferson Lerma certainly will for Colombia. Yeremy Pino too. Jean-Philippe Mateta is trying to force his way into plans for the French squad. Here is Ait Nouri. That's away by Lacroix. A lot more representation in the Manchester City squad, of course. Gianluigi Donnarumma won't be in the United States, Mexico and Canada. Italy failing to qualify again. Savinho probably will. Phil Foden, not necessarily the first name on the team sheet for Thomas Tuchel, but certainly a squad player. And it's a World Cup that will feature Erling Haaland. But will the game tonight? We'll find that out later on. He is on the bench, the free-scoring Norwegian. 26 for the season so far. Here's Savinho. And now space in the middle of the park for Josko Gvardiol. Tried to slip it past Richards, who was in the way. He was looking for Semenyo there, Gvardiol. But the distribution from Chris Richards is lacking. And finesse is Foden. And Silva. Kusanov. Silva. And we've settled into the same pattern we saw in that first half. City trying to break Palace down. Palace happy to soak up pressure. Late challenge from Mitchell. Poor one on Mateus Nunes. Savinho keeps the ball moving. Kusanov towards the left-hand side. Ait Nouri with the chest down. Little flick off of Daniel Munoz. A yellow card has been produced, so I'm sure this is going to be shown to Tyrick Mitchell. First man into the book tonight. Savinho just evaded Canvo initially, and then Mitchell lunged in, and the studs did come down on Savinho's left foot. Silva looks that back towards the Palace box. Henderson will come and collect it from the right back position. It's Canvo. Lerma. Mitchell on the left hand side. Pino dropping back. Chips the ball to Lacroix. Waiting for it to settle before feeding it across to Daniel Munoz on the right hand side. Ball forward. Silva stretching. Rose to meet it. And then lays it off to Josko Gvardiol. Gahey. Palace might have a problem at the weekend. That yellow card to Tyrick Mitchell means he should be suspended against Brentford. With Borna Sosa just coming back to training, Palace's backup left back. We have to play something slightly unorthodox in that wing-back role. We've seen Justin Devaney play there, Nathaniel Klein as well, who's more of a right-sided player and certainly not a wing-back. He's a Palace Academy graduate. That is 250th appearance for the club in that semi-final second leg against Shakhtar Donetsk last week. There's Munoz. Richards. Lacroix. Canvo. Munoz. Richards. Lacroix. Munoz again. A bit more space for the club in on the right hand side. Lost one up to the edge of the box. There's Mateta with a chest down. Finds Johnson. Can't get it back to Mateta. Get above Gvardiol to nod it down to Hughes as well. Finds Johnson, moves it on. Lerma edge of the penalty area. Just got away from him as he tried to pull the trigger. And Foden will lift it forward. Marmouche sprinting after it. There was Dean Henderson. Fantastic starting position. Midway through the Palace half, the header forward finds Richards, and now he's Munoz. Cumbo. Maxence Lacroix. There's no reason for Manchester City to take their foot off the gas as well tonight. Scoreline, as things stand, would see them match Arsenal's goal difference. And of course, that deficit would reduce to just 2 points. Ambitious ball from Lacroix, trying to slip it through almost the entire Manchester City formation to find Mateta, picked off, but Palace back in possession. Lerma, though, makes sure that was only temporary. Ran into Antoine Semenyo. Here's Foden. Now Silva. Dinks one forward to Marmouche. Silva now to the left-hand side for Aït-Nouri. Guéhi. Between the lines for Marmouche. Gvardiol. Bounces up away off Will Hughes. Silva. Guéhi. Back to Bernardo Silva, tracking in field. Everyone behind the ball at the moment for Palace, including Jean-Philippe Mateta. Switch of play by Guéhi will find Savinho. Mitchell has to be careful now on a booking. In by Nunez. Richard stretched. Drops to Aït-Nouri, left-hand side of the penalty area. Munoz in his way. And that's a corner. And two changes ready for Manchester City. And one of them will not be particularly welcome by Crystal Palace. Jeremy Doku is ready to come on, as is Nathan Ake. And Mateus Nunes is going to be replaced by the Dutchman. And it's Josko Gvardiol who's making his return after that long layoff, that injury. Will be replaced by Jeremy Doku. Imagine that we'll see Ryan Aït-Nouri move into a more conventional left-back position. And Nunes maybe step forward off the pitch as Ake joins the throng. City defenders out there. When he first joined Manchester City, there were question marks about Jeremy Doku, not about his ability, his talent, his footwork and his skill, but certainly whether he could produce results. Decent ball by Foden, taken down by Semenyo. Now here's Doku. Wrestling with Mitchell. Doku will turn it backwards, where Aït-Nouri is the last man back for Manchester City. Guéhi for Silva. Silva for Guéhi. Silva now finds Kristanov. Now Foden, edge of the penalty area, squeezes it through to Semenyo. Back to Phil Foden. City won't pull the trigger. It's Doku. Got 3 gold shirts around him. Marmouche drags his effort wide. Phil Foden once again almost picked the lock on the edge of the Palace bench, edge of the Palace box. Semenyo was forced a bit wide. I think Ryan Aït-Nouri could have taken it on himself, instead tried to be unselfish. In the end, the effort from Omar Marmoush was never troubling Dean Henderson, who are going to make changes of their own here, Crystal Palace, and it's three of their big stars, their big attacking threats. Off comes Yeremy Pino to be replaced by Ismail Assar, who scored his 20th goal at the weekend. Will Hughes will also go off to be replaced by Adam Wharton. And Jean-Philippe Mateta's night is finished. Jurgen Strand-Larsen, the £45 million signing in January, comes on to replace him on the hour mark. Every time Adam Wharton comes on in these final Premier League games of the season, every Palace fan takes a sharp intake of breath, as they do with Ismail Assar. They need them both fit for that final in Leipzig. Here's Richards, Wharton, neat touch with his chest, finds Lerma. Munoz, Sarr, back heel looking for Munoz. They dovetail ever so well down that right hand side for Palace. Sarr with a layoff. Strand-Larsen, has he beaten the offside trap here? Forced quite wide, Strand-Larsen. And the cutback took a deflection off Ake. Kind one from a City perspective. It's into Donnarumma's gloves. City off down the other end already. It's Semenyo. Savinho, Foden, Doku, Doku infield to Ake. Ake finds Guehi. Guehi to Foden. Now Silva. Laid off to the England international Mark Guehi. It's Bernardo Silva. Guehi. It's looked like a back three now for Manchester City with Kusanov, Ake and Guehi. Savinho and Ait-Nouri, the wing-backs. Silva and Foden operating as the two centre midfielders. Here's Ismail Assar. That's a loose pass. He might latch onto it. Sarr. He took it on a bit too early, and he puts his hand up in apology to Jurgen Strand-Larsen. We made a good run into the penalty area. It was a rare misplaced pass from Bernardo Silva. Just got ahead of himself there, Ismail Assar. Could have been a rip back into the game there if he'd found Jurgen Strand-Larsen. Savinho on the right hand side. Semenyo tries to take on Lacroix. It's a high ball, one that'll be kept in play on the near side by Doku. Held up by Munoz and Sarr. Ake. Doku. Ake. Guehi. Foden. Strong challenge from Cambo. Mitchell finds Lerma. And then a frustrated challenge from Phil Foden. Sees the free kick just outside the Palace penalty area. The City face Chelsea at Stamford Bridge in 3 days, at Wembley in 3 days' time. They will then travel to Bournemouth on Tuesday before finishing the season here against Aston Villa. in the hopes of keeping that title alive right the way through to the final day. For Palace, it's Brentford at the weekend, and then, well, we all know Arsenal, their final game of the season. It's tough to see where Arsenal are going to drop points. They're taking on already relegated Burnley on Monday, and then Palace, who have their eyes on the Conference League on the final day, Sunday, May the 24th. Following that, well, the Champions League final, Saturday the 30th of May, Paris Saint-Germain, the holders, the opponents in Budapest. Could end up being quite the season in North London. Palace have a free kick just inside the City half of the pitch, and it's Adam Wharton standing over it. High line from Manchester City. Wharton, that's an overhit set piece, which makes one bounce off the surface before going out of play for a City goal kick. 25 minutes remaining. City still in control of this one. That Crystal Palace away end has thinned out a little. I think a few have probably seen enough and have headed back down to South London by way of Euston from Manchester Piccadilly. But another night without the pressure of Europa Conference League tickets going on sale tomorrow. A few, I'm sure, will be staying over in Manchester. It's a wonderful night, wonderful place to visit if you ever get the chance. Semenyo, turn away from Canvo. Foden in midfield. Gahey. Ake. It's Silva on the left-hand side. Gahey. That's off Johnson. Kusanov will take the throw in for Manchester City in his new role on that right hand side of the back three. Gahey spun back by Silva to Donnarumma. Gahey straight down the middle. Lacroix away only as far as Semenyo on the edge of the centre circle. Aït-Nouri for Doku. Doku for Silva. Silva for Aït-Nouri. Ake. Jeremy Doku. Nathan Ake. Doku. Spins away from Sarr. Richards in the way of the through ball towards Semenyo. Munoz. Wharton. Juggled by Lerma. Awkward one back to Lacroix. We'll find Richards. Has to put his foot through it. Silva with the header. Lerma caught underneath the bounce, which Foden dealt with. Well, Lacroix will poke it away from Phil Foden. Laid off by Johnson. Canvo. Now here's Wharton. Bit of space at the base of midfield. Lovely ball with the outside of his left foot to find Brennan Johnson. Forced wide out to that left-hand side. Tries to hang one into the penalty area. It's onto the roof of the net. Bit more composure required from Brennan Johnson. It's a grimace from the former Spurs man. That's been repeated far too often since he joined the club in January. He just chopped back. You could see Ismaila Sarr making a run on the edge of the penalty area. Tried to move the ball a bit too quickly, Johnson. It's Gahey. Kusanov. Silva. No Gahey. Foden. Savinho. Kusanov. Gahey. Forward to Marmoush. Little back heel. Won't reach Aït-Nouri. Read by Wharton. Sarr. Looking for the return ball to Munoz. There's Silva again to tidy things up for Manchester City. Back to Gianluigi Donnarumma. Here's Ake for City. Gahey. Ake. Back to Donnarumma. Flicked out to the right-hand side. And by Kusanov to Foden. Now Aït-Nouri. Silva on the halfway line. Here's Mark Gahey. Shuffle towards the right-hand side. Kusanov. The back of Lacroix's head, the delivery. Doku. And that little pocket on the edge of the box that he loves so much. Flicked it in there and it was away by Lacroix, and now Sarr will carry it clear for Crystal Palace. Turns it infield to Munoz. Now Wharton. Across to Mitchell. Johnson was offside. Stayed offside. Mitchell played the ball forward. And it's all the way through to Donnarumma. He looks a man totally shot of confidence, Brennan Johnson. He knew he was in an offside position when Mitchell took his first touch. Had ample time to get back in line with the Manchester City defence. Never did. And what looked a potentially promising move for Palace. Another one that evaporates. Pep Guardiola's going mad at Nathan Ake there. Cheap giveaway of the ball, was that's had a play for a Palace throw-in, and now a cheap foul. Semenyo in the back of Adam Wharton. 10 years at the helm now at Manchester City. He's overseen their most successful period of success. Mitchell towards Johnson. Gahey sliding in. Palace have the corner. Nothing to lose here for Palace now. Brennan Johnson looks like he's going to take the set piece. All the big men wandering forward from the back. Richards, Canvo, Lacroix, Lerma's in there as well. Johnson's high ball straight to Gianluigi Donnarumma. It's a really poor corner from Brennan Johnson. Now Foden finds Doku. Aït-Nouri on the overlap. Doku keeps it for the time being before laying it off to Ake. Kusanov, Foden inside right position. Savinho against Mitchell. There's the throw-in. There's going to be a change here, and Brennan Johnson is going to be taken out of the firing line. His punishment is over. Another frustrating night for him. And he'll trudge off to be replaced by Daichi Kamada, the Japan international who comes chugging on. And is now approaching full strength. A more advanced role than he usually plays for Palace here, Daichi Kamada. It's one of the two number 10s behind Jorgen Strand Larsen. City are going to respond very shortly with a couple of changes of their own. Mateo Kovacic is going to be coming on shortly. There's Ryan Cherki as well. Saw getting stripped off. He's out for quite a significant portion of the season. Missed 33 games between the end of October and the 12th of March with an ankle injury. And Mateo Kovacic. Is Wharton looking for Kamada. Those two usually partnering each other in midfield. Back to Donnarumma, first time clearance. Underneath it, Canvo, Strand Larsen. Another ball to find Wharton. Sarr. Ake hacks it away. There's Henderson. Hammers it forward towards Ismaila Sarr. Felt that he was being dragged down by Nathan Ake. Stuart Atwell disagrees. Kusanov. That's away off Mitchell. Savinho. Kusanov. Links up with Savinho again. Canvo across his path. And cleared away by the teenager. Donnarumma for Mark Gahey. Ake. Gianluigi Donnarumma. Up to the right hand side for Savinho. There is Gahey. Forward. Semenyo. Laid off to Savinho. Clever return pass. Antoine Semenyo making progress down the right hand side. Doku wants it edge of the penalty area. Adam Wharton took up a good position, and the interception from the Blackburn Academy graduate snuffs out the Manchester City attack. Still Manchester City 2, Crystal Palace 0. 13 minutes left to play. Here's Lacroix. Sarr. Munoz rather betwixt in between positions there, and Sarr was expecting him further forward. Well, here come the two Manchester City changes. And it's Omar Mamouche who'll go off. Another goal, back-to-back goals against Brentford and now Palace. He'll be replaced by Ryan Cherki, and it's Bernardo Silva. His penultimate appearance as a City player at the Etihad comes to an end. He passes the captain's armband over to Nathan Ake, soaks up the applause. It'll be Mateo Kovacic who will add a little bit more of a combative presence in midfield here. Applause from Erling Haaland for Omar Mamouche, the understudy, with another goal. Right, Nuri. It's a dangerous ball across his own penalty area. We'll find Kusanov though. Into midfield for Cherki. Lacroix with a challenge, but can't keep it. Richards will slide in with Semenyo on the edge of the Palace box and win the ball. Savinho right hand side. Foden. Kovacic. Savinho. Kristanov. Doku. Gahey. City supporters want to see one more change, and it's not the man you're thinking of, it's John Stones. His name ringing around the Etihad. He announced that he would be departing the club at the end of the season. It's given away by Donnarumma. Here's Daichi Kamada into the penalty area. That's a foul, is it? Stuart Atwell blows the whistle, reaches into his pocket, and the yellow card is going to be shown to Daichi Kamada. For simulation, surely. It was a poor ball by Gianluigi Donnarumma. Let's have a little look at the replay. Was there any contact? It was straight to Daichi Kamada. Kovacic ran across the back of him. Well, there is a little bit of contact. I'm not sure it's a dive. I don't think there's enough contact to give a penalty, though. It seems a relatively harsh yellow card for Daichi Kamada. It's nice to see Stuart Atwell and Gianluigi Donnarumma sharing a joke there, as Daichi Kamada has been given a yellow card for simulation after there was clear contact between the two. Well, off goes Daniel Munoz. They run out for Nathaniel Klein here. Going to save Munoz's legs. And John Stones will be coming on for Phil Foden. We briefly had the captain's armband on, handed to him by Nathan Ake, and that's going to be handed over, I believe, to John Stones now. Stones passing on some tactical adjustments to Ryan Cherki. Through to Strand Larsen. He was off balance as he hit it. It's not been Palace's night. There's a little ball over the top. Gahey gets across and does just enough to put him off. A little shake of the head. They're still hunting a goal here, Palace. Wharton slid in with Cherki. Frenchman bursts away. Runners around him. Cherki. Savinho finishes it off. Tucks it into the bottom corner. Savinho. A third for City on the night. An academic goal when it comes to the end result. It's his first of the season as well, Savinho. His last came 500 days ago against Leicester City. A year and a half. A goal scorer in the FA Cup against Newcastle. But he hasn't registered in league action. He's onside, he does really well, keeps his composure. A tidy little finish, and while it won't change much about the end result tonight, what it will do is move City onto plus 43 goal difference. And that means they are one ahead of Arsenal in that metric at least. Still 2 points behind them in the race for the Premier League title. It's just what Pep Guardiola was looking for. It's the 75th goal they've scored this season. Kovacic. Semenyo almost took it past JD Canvo. Kovacic. Cherki. Gahey. Savinho. Laid off by Aït-Nouri. Kovacic. Kusanov. Cherki. Out to Savinho again on the right hand side. Joggles it past Canvo. Uses the outside of his left foot to wrap it into the penalty area. Bounces away off Lacroix. Some shouts for handball, mostly from the crowd rather than the players. Doku dispossessed. Kovacic keeps it moving. Here's Cherki over Mitchell. Savinho, and that one's wide. Had to just snatch it as it dropped over his shoulder. That's off the outside of his left boot and wide. He's hurt himself in the process, Savinho. They've run out of subs though. I think it's a bit of cramp for the Brazilian. Being helped out here by Antoine Semenyo. A shake of the head from Pep Guardiola as he takes his seat. Three minutes left to the 90. Gahey. Kamada. That's off of the Japan international, out of play. Played off by Strand Larsen. Here's Lerma. City win it back. Doku can't get past Adam Wharton. Semenyo. It's given away to JD Canvo. Wharton. One for Jurgen Strand Larsen to chase. Gets there in front of Gahey, but that'll run out of play. Oliver Glasner looks relaxed. Game was decided a long time ago, really. Next to his assistant Mikel Ankerschmidt. Steve Parish in the director's box alongside Palace legend Mark Bright. A little frown on Mark Bright's face. You know, the real tests are to come. Doku. Aït-Nouri. It's good defending from Lacroix. Ends up in Henderson's gloves. Gahey chests it down. Over the top, Canvo there. Wharton in the middle. Lacroix finds Lerma. Here's Jürgen Strand-Larsen. Ismaila Sarr forced a little wide. Sarr, the pullback, gobbled up by Donnarumma at the near post. And we're moving to 5 minutes of added time. I'm not sure where the officials have found that. It's Cherki. Doku. Cherki. Out to the far side. Savinho. He's not going to be able to continue, I think. I'm sure both managers would be happy to hear the whistle blow a little bit earlier than the 5 minutes of added time that we've been given here. They may have to continue with just 10 here. Manchester City won't do them too much harm. Bounces away from Doku. Lerma is fouled. It's Mitchell. Lacroix, Richards. Lerma with a challenge on the edge of the centre circle. Semenyo keeps it moving. Cherki ran into traffic. Now Lerma is penalised for his challenge. Kovacic. Back to Gahey in the centre circle. Kristanov. Cherki looking to slip it in behind for Semenyo. Might get better here for City. Semenyo with the layoff. Savinho goes down. Aït-Nouri lays it off to Doku. That's against Klein. Strand-Larsen doing the defensive work on the edge of the penalty area. Cherki juggles. Sarr is there as well, trying to prevent a fourth. Doku left-hand side. Cherki. Lovely touch by Aït-Nouri. Kovacic. Sliced out to that right for Semenyo. Touch was too heavy. Mitchell will put it out of play for a Manchester City throw-in. Phil Foden's been named man of the match for his 2 assists in the first half, and it was a really impressive showing for a player that used to be a starter here under Pep Guardiola and has to play a bit more of an understudy role recently. Strand Larson, so to the ball, Wharton, maybe a consolation here for Palace. Kamada, left-hand side, Daichi Kamada into the penalty area. That's against Stones. Wharton says handball. Bounces behind, will be a corner. Just about time for the set piece. Did actually strike the arm of John Stones. It was away from his body. Daichi Kamada will take the set piece to Palace. Kamada's ball high, too close to Gianluigi Donnarumma. Most of the set pieces have been exactly the same. It's a throw down the left-hand side for Doku. Stuart Atwell will let them play on. Here is Jeremy Doku. Strong from Klein. And the whistle blows. It's a night of survival, a night of squad depth, and ultimately a night where Manchester City did exactly what was required to keep their title challenge breathing. It finishes Manchester 3, Palace 0. It's a result that hasn't completely recalibrated the landscape. Arsenal still lead the way, and the momentum from North London remains formidable. But it is a result that ensures the champions are still very much, the former champions I should say, are still very much in the conversation. City have kept their side of the bargain, moving to within 2 points and ensuring that when the Gunners host Burnley on Monday, they do so with a sky blue shadow looming large in their rearview mirror. The tactical gamble from Pep Guardiola was vindicated. He rested the heavy hitters with one eye on the FA Cup final this weekend. And the stand-ins delivered. The first half vision of man of the match Phil Foden paved the way for Antoine Semenyo and Omar Marmoush before Savinho's late strike added that critical third. That goal carries a hidden weight. It moves City's goal difference to plus 43, crucially nudging them one ahead of Arsenal. If this race comes down to the finest of margins, that late surge could be the most important thing City did tonight. As for Palace, well, they played their part in what was an engrossing contest, but you could see the pragmatism at play. With a historic Conference League final in Leipzig on the horizon, Oliver Glasner's men were understandably careful. They competed, they tested Donnarumma here and there, but their eyes are clearly on a different prize. They leave Manchester with their status secure and their focus now shifting entirely to that date with destiny in 2 weeks' time. For City, the Wednesday night fortress remains unbreached, 37 games and counting. They haven't overtaken the leaders, but they've tightened the screw. The gap is 2, the goal difference is tipped in their favour, and the pressure is squarely back on Arsenal. And they could well be lifting silverware yet again this weekend. The race continues, the drama intensifies. Thank you for joining us on a pivotal, rain-soaked night at the Etihad. From all of us here, we thank you for your listening this evening. Final score at the Etihad. It's finished. Manchester City 3, Crystal Palace 0.